We're going to move on to the meeting yesterday between the Chinese and Russian presidents. So we heard Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, say that the administration has made clear its concerns over these closer ties between Russia and China. But do you believe that this new alignment or this closer alignment is tactical or strategic? I mean, do you think that these guys are in it for the long term? And we also heard Putin say that China expressed its concerns and questions over the conflict in Ukraine. And I just wonder how the U.S. is going to leverage that.
Well, I think it's been no secret that President Putin and President Xi have been forging a closer relationship. That's not new. It's not really surprising either, because both leaders of those two countries have expressed their annoyance and their dislike of American leadership around the world and the rules-based international order that not only the United States but so many other countries around the world espouse and try to improve. And this they find, in many ways, they find inimical to what they believe are their own selfish interests. So it's not surprising that these two leaders would be continuing this relationship. I think it's noteworthy, though, to your other point in your question, that Mr. Putin recognized publicly that China had expressed concerns. We have not seen, we don't believe that this is the time for business as usual with Russia by anybody. It's not the time to be buying their oil at these exorbitant prices. It's not the time, certainly, to be violating the sanctions regime. We have not seen the Chinese provide any material support to Mr. Putin for the war in Ukraine. And we haven't had any indications that they are violating sanctions. So it is noteworthy that Mr. Putin would mention that China had some concerns. China's got choices to make. As we've said many times before, we would clearly prefer that the choice they make is to condemn what Mr. Putin is doing in Ukraine, as so many other countries around the world has done, and make clear these concerns that they apparently have about what he's doing there.
How are you going to leverage that, though? Because there is a disagreement between these two big powers. How's the U.S. going to work that diplomatically, or what tools are you going to bring to bear?
We're going to keep doing what we've been doing to support Ukraine and to hold Mr. Putin accountable. And we're going to continue to keep the lines of communication open with Beijing, as we must. There are issues of disagreement, clearly, between the United States and China. But there's also areas where we have said we can and we should cooperate on, such as climate change, such as the opioid crisis, such as counterterrorism. And it's regrettable that the Chinese have shut down now some of those avenues for us to have a discussion, particularly about opioids, fentanyl, and, of course, climate change. That's regrettable, but we're going to look for ways to continue to make sure we can keep those lines of communication open. I think it's also important to note that these two countries are not like best of friends. I mean, they have a relationship, obviously, but it is not built on a whole heck of a lot of mutual trust and confidence. And it's really more of a partnership of convenience than it is anything akin to the kinds of alliances and partnerships that the United States has around the world.